Hello, everybody. Welcome to Opportunity Knocks. I am so excited to be joined by somebody I call a friend who I enjoy my time with monthly. And I have to say, my daughters do as well.
Hmm.
Her name is Heather Bradley, and she is the founder of Bradley Beauty, which is both skincare as well as body products. And they're all clean and they're all from formulas passed down through generations. And I love to hear her stories. And not only that, but she's a celebrity esthetician. But that is not it. She's got so much depth to offer us. That's why I wanted her to join us today, because she's a storyteller at her core. So, welcome.
Welcome. Hi, Michelle. Boy, pressure's on. It's like I've got so many stories. I've got so many stories, right? I actually probably have, oh my God, I probably have the most stories out of anybody in the city based on all the people I work on. But
know.
that's a whole different Zoom. That's a whole different Zoom thing.
Exactly. But the thing is about that is that you kind of, when you work on people and you like literally are exchanging energy, it's
Yeah.
all about this transference of information, right? Beyond
Yeah.
just what's going on their skin.
Yeah.
So that's
It,
amazing, right?
it is amazing. And it 100% is amazing. But I'm realizing this more than ever right now because of, coming out of a pandemic, but still kind of being in a pandemic, and the people that are starting to fold back into the practice and the things that they're coming in with and what they're up against in their homes, with their jobs, with their relationships, with their children. It's like, this is a real responsibility. And I've always, I was born and raised with a very touchy feely family and people that always, had their hands in the dirt, and entrepreneurs and very loving and kind. I had a handicapped sister who was nonverbal, who was constantly speaking through tones and touch, I learned very quickly how to communicate with her at a very young age. We were very close in age. She was like 12, 13, 13, 14 months younger than I. So I feel like when you're putting your hands on people in whatever area that is, whether it's massage. I mean, I do facial treatments, and I incorporate, as you know, I incorporate massage through the face and the neck, and with a great scalp treatment. I think it's so important. There is a transfer of energy, and there is a responsibility for the practitioner to the client to really be available to kind of, for lack of better words, wood chip their stuff, like help them process their stuff. Because in my experience, when people are on my bed, they tell me a lot and they really open up and they unfold. And you can be starting off and they're going, hey, look at this zit, or I'm wrinkling, I don't like this.
Permission.
I
That's
give
the
them
thing.
permission.
You
But you
actually
go,
allow them, you create an open space. So it's interesting. So what I would say is you
yes,
hold space and strength
I
and
try
courage.
to. I try to. I mean, you'll start by talking about, well, I'm really concerned about my anti-aging, and I'm really concerned about the zit. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I don't know. Like they fall apart. And then you're kind of like, okay, and at the end of like an hour and 45, 2 hour, treatment, sometimes you're like, crap, I need to go on a little bit longer because this person's not done telling me everything that's processing. And that's what life is really about. I mean, as a woman, you have, children, husband, career, business. We all go through these incarnations in this life, and then we get broadsided by these things that happen. And we really have to be more available to one another to help process all of that. I don't care if you're a contractor or you're a skincare professional, you have to be able to help. We're connected. We have to help each other
Well,
process this. I'm aware of it.
what I see about you is that it's almost like it's a wisdom. It's an inner wisdom and an inner knowing. And it's not something that I would say, I mean, I've been to a million facial people in the city of Los Angeles. And as we know, we're all trying to stay youthful in Los Angeles.
The
However,
pressure.
beyond that, it's this inner knowing of how to care for your clients, almost like like a nurse, you know?
Well, I mean, I think, you know what it is, honestly? I I really love people. I really, really love people. I just do. I love, sometimes, Tony, my partner, will give me crap about it. He'll be like, you don't know them. You don't need to be talking to them. You're spending too much time with the clerk. Like, you're like, who cares what the postman does on the weekends? I'm like, you know what? But isn't that like, aren't those like the most important things in our life? Like those little bits of connection that we make with people, like, what's going on with you? Where do you come from? In my opinion, my dad loved to tell stories. My dad was in music. My grandmother told stories. My grandmother, I spent a lot of time with my mom's mom, as you know, growing up. She was the person that I went to for everything, Granny. She inspired me in so many ways. And she would just sit and talk to me, and she'd, Tiger Lil, what's she tell me little things. And I always felt really important and heard, but mostly loved. I
Yeah.
felt loved. And when I don't care what you're doing, but if you just stop and you take a rest and you actually open your ears up to dialogue with a stranger or even with your loved ones that we see every day, we're changing their lives. But not only that, but we're getting valuable pieces of information that kind of paint our canvas of who we are. And there are all these beautiful textures and all these little hidden gems. I mean, I love talking to your girls. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that, no,
It's a mutual exchange, actually.
but it's beautiful. It's like, hello, like, when was the last time you sat and talked to a bunch of high school kids? It's like, my kid's grown and out of he's out of high school. So it's like, when do you like sit? It's like you're losing valuable opportunity as a human being if you don't stop and just kind of get into somebody else's life. Or it's also like taking a mini vacation, by the way.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the word that you bring up for me is curiosity. Is actually like sitting into being curious about another person. And to Tony's point about like, well, do you need, my husband's the same way, do you need to talk to that person? Why does it matter? That person's not going to remember.
What can you get from them? He says, what can they do for you?
Exactly. But the exchange of love, or the exchange of listening and caring, is a gift that most people don't give. And that's probably like, I'm kind of coming to like, we're very similar in that way, but I actually hadn't ever thought of it that way.
Michelle, I really think that that's one of the biggest reasons that you and I connect, is that we both love the getting to know of somebody. We love to hear about what's going on with somebody. I mean, I wish that in some ways, I wish that I wasn't that way, because I truly develop relationships with people in my head that probably aren't even real. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I spend so much time, I worry about what's going on with people. I think about, what's happening in their day. When they tell me something, I immediately feel like the feeling of what they're going through. And I feel like I am, and I mean, it feels weird to say that, but I mean, yeah, if we want to label it, I do have empathy for people. I do actually feel sad when people go through stuff. I feel upset when people don't like me, because I do come from a place of love. And I think that you and I share the gift of the desire of wanting to know people and the desire of sharing love. The best and the biggest gift, 100%, the biggest gift you can give to anyone is your time and your love. And the biggest gift you can give to strangers is love. I mean, how many times you go to the store here in Los Angeles and you'll see the same clerk over and over and over again for however long we've lived here. And you don't even know their name, or they don't make eye contact with you.
Ask their name. And that's
crazy.
That's not taught anymore. Like, in our generation, it was about respecting your elders, exporting wisdom and receiving that wisdom. And like you said, slowing down to receive it and hear them and digest their stories. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore.
It's like a lost form of art. It's a lost art form. I mean, what do you think about, what building fires and sitting around and telling, so it feels like old sages, or like, I mean, I don't know. There's something very spiritual for me about just that feeling that I get when I mean, I have it a lot, and it's almost, at the end of the day, sometimes I'm just like, zzz, because I feel like I've been in this long meditation with people. Yeah. But that feeling of it's joy, it's love, it's spiritual. It's a deep, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
So I want, before we get too far, because I mean, I know you and I will go deep and we just never come out of the
we
week.
always do.
I totally, and that's so awesome, because I could just always want more of that. So for me and for the rest of our audience, because they don't know you, like, tell us a little bit about how did you end up becoming an esthetician and, formulating your own products and all of that. Every single one of those things is such a series of transitions, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll
since
tell you,
series is about opportunities and allowing
yeah.
women to know how to make, take, create opportunities, right? How did you go from being in the music business? How did you go from being on your small little island in Washington to getting
Yeah.
to Los Angeles?
Well, it was a huge mistake. It was something, not a big mistake, but I'll just tell you in a nutshell. I was born and raised on Whidbey Island, which is in the Pacific Northwest. It's north of Seattle. And my parents split up when I was a kid, and the three of us girls, my older sister Megan and my younger sister Raiden, the three of us lived with my dad. And I always wanted to be around my mom growing up, and the closest thing to my mom on the island was my grandmother, Charlotte Bellman Peabody, or Charlotte Peabody Bellman. And my grandmother, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. I always wanted to be home. She would keep me home from school all the time. I would call her up and fake sick, and she would come pick me up, and we'd spend the day. And she had a beautiful, cool red barn-like house on Whidbey. It sat up on this gorgeous hill overlooking the Puget Sound, and the boats would come in, and we would sit, and I would fake sick all the time. And that's true. Like on my report card in the third grade, I think I went like maybe a total of a month.
Oh my God.
She would come pick me up. It's true. She would come pick me up, and we would go home to her house, and she would take me through her garden. She had beautiful rose gardens. She had beautiful raspberry gardens. We would dig in the soil for little new potatoes. She made homemade root beer. She made dandelion wine. Her and her husband, Bill, they had apple orchards and sheep, and it was just this really magical experience. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I used to lay on this velvet couch, because when my stepmom would come to pick me up, she'd say, pretend like you're sick, go lay down. Like, it was like a really weird relationship. It's true. So I'd lay on the couch, and she always played Ostra Gilberto, and I would listen to Girl from Ipanema over and over again, which is odd because Tony's father wrote that song. And now Tony and I are together. So it's like this weird kind of like little thread, right? Anyway, I was inspired by her because she smelled good. She was playful. She was interactive. She made good food, and she was loving, and she was kind, and she just let me run around and be free. And as a child, everything that I said to her was interesting. She would take it in, and she would dialogue with me. So I think I got a lot of satisfaction and confidence from that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And moving forward, I moved from Whidbey Island, also having my handicapped sister with me all the time. I mean, she was my responsibility. I became her legal guardian when I was 18. So that took on, that really kind of massaged the
level of responsibility.
Totally. But also so grateful, because that kind of like unconditional love from her, and my ability to feel what was going on with her, in her life, which she didn't feel well, this, that, whatever. It's like all of these things that happen in our lives slowly start to shape us, which is really fun if you have kids, to look at how you're affecting them, because it's all these little nuggets that they take, these little bits, which get to this place. So in a nutshell, I had gone with a friend. I was doing music at the time, and I'd been scholarshiped at Cornish Institute of the Arts, and I was writing music there and studying.
writing music. Okay. Do you play
Right.
an instrument too? Because I
Just a little piano, just to write songs. But I was working under this woman, Jay Clayton. She was a professor there, and I was doing vocal jazz with her. And I really wanted to get into music. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with music, but I wanted to do that. And I was in the city and going back and forth between the island and the city, and just doing my music stuff. And a friend of mine, this gorgeous tall drink of water, was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go to this modeling thing. John Casablanca is gonna be there from Elite. And come with me, I want support." And I was like, okay. So I was kind of like the chubby friend who followed along, right? I'm like, okay, I'll get my
the groupie.
Yeah, the groupie. So we're at this hotel, and there's like all these models, like walking around doing their stuff, and like everybody's like super pretty. And at the end of it, he walks up to me and he's like, "Hey, I'd like to see your book." And that was a weird thing for me, because I never wanted to be a model. Like, I felt really weird. And even like, I mean, you know me really well. It's like even doing stuff like this is kind of challenging for me. But basically,
Ownership of oneself.
well, you know what? It's like,
Kind of, you want to be seen, not heard, but it's like
yeah,
always work.
yeah. Well, I spend a lot of time too, like lifting people up. So it's like, for me, it's like, it's
Like, oh,
more,
it's my turn. You want to talk to me?
it's more comfortable. So very quickly, I had an agent. I was with Elite Folio in Japan. Then I was with Karen's in France. Then I was with Louisa in Germany. And I started this whole circuit at the time when, I was making a lot of money. It was happening really quickly, doing a lot of beauty stuff, doing ads for, Lancome and Reebok. And it was such a whirlwind. I had all this great traveling experience. I left Cornish and thought, shit, I'm just going to do this. I making money doing this.
Yeah.
My problem is I couldn't keep the fork down. So I could never, like, it was like my agent was constantly like, "You're fat. You need to stop you need to stop eating." I'm like, it's frigging Oktoberfest. I'm going to go get a pretzel and a beer. Oh my God, I'm like crying in like the local, graveyards, like just like sitting there going, I'm not.
Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
English.
Totally not. I mean, Michelle, honestly, like, I look back on that, and my goal was to be in music and do music. And then I took this segue into modeling and did that and traveled and made money and traveled all around the world and had this whole experience, got involved. What?
It's sexy.
I don't know what it was to me. It was something that it was during the days of discovery, where you get discovered and something happens, and I was just kind of going along with the flow, but it wasn't my passion, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. It wasn't my life, what I really wanted in my life. In a nutshell, when I look back at all that,
with you. There's no nutshell with you.
There's no nutshell with me, but I traveled all around. I made money. I learned a lot about women. I learned a lot about what makes women feel beautiful. I learned a lot about what women hate about themselves. Women hate that they can't keep their weight down. Women hate it when they get a blemish. Women hate it if you look at them too long. Women always feel like they want to be the most beautiful girl in the room, but they don't want to tell you they want to be the most beautiful girl in the room. Women, I feel like that. I feel like God was giving me that as an education that was starting to fuel and nurture, to where I'm at right now. So I did all that. At the time, my boyfriend was living in Oceanside. He wanted us to come back from Europe. We moved to Los Angeles, and I immediately started making records. I segued from there into like commercial type of stuff and started making records. I started my first record out in New York.
Were you writing
and singing.
Okay.
Writing and singing. So I had started off with with my Cornish Institute thing, fell into this modeling thing, and then was, after 5 years of that, settled back into Los Angeles and was like, wait a second, I don't want to be a model. I can't keep my weight down. I get depressed every time I go in a casting. I'm the fattest girl in a swimsuit. You know what I mean? It's like, I just like, I'm over it. I mean, during all that time, I was doing everybody's brows, and I was also waxing everybody because,
really? Oh my God.
Yeah, I was. So this is kind of like, it all kind of happened all together at the same time, but it's like, you're raised on an island, you learn how to wax, you learn how to, sew a stitch, you learn how to stitch up a cut. And, when you're out on an island, you kind of learn these like different little things. So when I was modeling, I was always the girl, everybody would come to my room for like waxing and brows and like doing this whole thing. So I was always, exactly. So I was already kind of like doing this stuff in my life. I moved here, I started making records, great things were happening. I was moving things forward. I love to sing. I love to write. I was doing a lot of work and feeling really good about it. I signed my first deal with EMI out of New York and was there for 3 months recording with some really fabulous producers, Sturkin and Rogers, and came back to Los Angeles, started working with Patrick Leonard, who has a tremendous reputation, and was signed a deal with Universal. And then my best friend, my manager, was killed in a car accident. So it's like all these little steps had happened and I felt like something really fabulous was going to go on. And then it was like, whew, it was gone. So I took a year and I just fell off, like you said before, everything will be going great. And then all of a sudden you get something in the mail and you're like, what? Yeah. Like that's, my life was so heavily derailed. My sister died. Then my manager was killed in a car accident. It was like everything that was made me feel like this was completely collapsed. Yeah. I had had a marriage and a divorce. I had a young little boy who was depending on me. I, was away from my family. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother. I'd never imagined myself having to go somewhere and get a job and work. Yeah. And so I took a year off and burned through some money and got very depressed. And then I thought, you know what? It was actually my ex-husband. He was like, you need to pull your stuff together. You need to pull it together. You have a son to raise. You have a responsibility, pull it together. And I went back to school.
At this point in time?
I had a career change at 28. Okay. So I had traveled and lived all around the world and was making.
You started early, like a lot of your success.
17.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 17. I mean, I graduated and I was living in Japan when I was 18. I was at a contract and I was in Japan for a year. And then from there, it's like you just work your book and try to get, you work the circuit. But at that point, I decided, you know what are the things that I really, really love? I love putting my hands on people. I love feeling artistic. I love being in an environment. I love to create my environments. You know how much I love my home and I love to create environment. I want to be with my son.
Your space or your spa. It's like a spa. It is. It's like a spa.
I guess it's like a spa.
You're going on a vacation. Feels like you're in a resort.
I hope you feel that way. I mean,
absolutely. You're very much experiencing. It's like your sacred space.
It's my sacred space. It's my sacred space. And I try to create that in my home as well. And the most important thing to me during that time, I mean, after I lost my sister, Raiden, I felt like I had no purpose. Like she loved me so much because I could feel her thoughts and I could, she was nonverbal. And then when I lost Jerry the next year, my manager, I was like, oh my God, it's like, God's just going boom, like, just knocking me out. And so when I went back to school and decided that I was going to, get my aesthetics license and I was really going to dig in and I needed to do something, I was running out of money. I had to do something. And I didn't not want to, I wanted to be with my kid. So I set up a place in my kitchen and I started taking my first clients. And I swear to you, Michelle, every time I would put my hands on people, I would hear this voice say, you take care of the boy and I'll give you the clients. And I kept hearing this voice. It was beautiful. You take care of the boy and I'll give you clients. And I started working and it was one right after another. I mean, it was hard for me to even finalize getting my license. I was bringing in so many people so fast. And during that whole first 2 years for sure, I was receiving so much healing from the people that were coming to me. Yeah. I mean, it was like God just went, here, I'm going to put somebody on your table and you're going to do a really good service because you know I'm a clean freak and I love things. I'm very meticulous. So this is right up my alley. But then what I was getting back from these women, it made me completely fall in love with understanding what makes women feel important and special and beautiful and all of and heard and all of these things that I'd experienced. It wasn't like the whole modeling thing. I mean, I am like the last person to be in that situation. I mean, if it's based on the fact that I love sugar alone, like I am like the last person to be in that situation. But then it
The fact
finally,
that you're giving every client chocolate almonds all the time.
yeah, totally. But it came full circle for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, sometimes in life, you feel like you're just kind of ping ponging around. And then all of a sudden, you have like a rest and a moment where you're like, wow, I learned about how women function and what they need by observing these models, whether it was at a job or, through different makeup artists. I mean, I got I got to learn about the art of exfoliation from these Japanese, makeup artists and practitioners. When I lived in Japan, I studied
Better than Japanese people.
Oh my God. And for what I do, I love exfoliation. So I feel like God was really just going, hey, I'm going to put you over here and you're going to have this experience and see the world a little bit. And you're going to take something from this. So I feel like right now where I'm sitting, with my, I feel really happy about where my business is right
Like
now.
20 years since you've been an esthetician, or
Probably 15 to 17,
yeah,
15 to 17.
because I mean, I think it's really important to talk about that. Yes, you've created this beautiful sacred space, but it's coming from basically 15 years ago, not having your first client, right, and now
Yeah.
having a thriving business.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get into you. And not only that, but you're now starting your own products. And I mean, you've started them and you private label and things like that. But I think the reality is that you're so highly sought after. So do you believe that it's like transferably that whatever beautiful skill that you have to offer in any arena then kind of follows you to your next journey?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about because it's like from birth until death, like, isn't that your journey? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I mean, I guess it is. It's like, I mean, if I don't know. I've never been somebody who says, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do this and that's going to be it. I'm somebody who wants to investigate. And I kind of like, I like to see how the puzzle pieces fit together. I'm somebody who will try to cram a piece. And then when I'm like, okay, that's not working, I'm going to pull it back. And then I'm like, okay, like, why not be pleasantly surprised if the next big thing comes from the mailman, you know what I mean? Or if it like, I mean, why not be open to like, just give it to me, like whatever it is, let me be of service to whatever your belief system is. Like, let me be of service and let my hands be healthy and of service for you. And you know what? You just show me where to go. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I'll tell you what happens.
The interesting thing is that what you're talking about is the gift of flowing, and the gift,
yes,
it's basically manifestation, right?
yeah, and being open.
And being open to the process.
Yeah.
The reality is that it's a different story or a different perspective than most people have. Most people have the perspective of controlling,
Yeah.
trying to plan their outcome, and in effect it actually doesn't always result in success.
Well, it's very stressful too. It's kind of like, have you ever picked up a handful of sand at the beach and you're like, I'm going to hold this sand, and you're holding it, and the harder you, right. And then you open up and you just have like a couple little granules left. This is the interesting thing. I, of course I want to make money and I want to be surrounded by amazing people. And I do believe that, like, you do the work and you're working, then all of a sudden, you're oiling the chain and the chain falls off and the chain falls off. And all of a sudden the chain's back on the bike and whoa, you're riding and you feel good, right? Like, or you're just kind of like surfing that wave. Like, the goal is to find the balance, right? And to feel balanced as you go through life. Cause there's somebody, I mean, I'm not going to be somebody who's going to go to Fiji and surf like 60-foot waves. Like, that's just not going to be me. I'm going to be somebody
You're not
who
motivated
like,
by that.
yeah, I'm not motivated by that. I'm motivated by how can I be of service to others and how can I ride this wave of life and feel like I'm still connected to the things around me that stimulate me, which are people, music, food,
That's why you have
facials.
music playing.
Yeah, facials and God, seriously. And that's what I feel. And this is a funny thing, but Michelle, okay, so here I am in Brentwood, right?
Yep.
And the last, I've moved a couple different places, but
Brentwood, Los Angeles for everybody, so that you all know.
right. But the last time when I moved over here, before I moved, I was working out of my house in Benedict Canyon, and I had written a bunch of songs with my co-write songwriting partner at the time, Joseph Ataya, and Joseph and I recorded all these songs. They were so beautiful. I honestly thought in my mind, I am going to jump and record a record, and it's going to be great, and I'll just put it out and do my own thing. Well, things changed. My business got so busy. My facials business is, I mean, it's all word of mouth and it's just like boom, boom, boom. And all this wonderful third party press and people coming in and really just supporting what I'm doing, which I'm so thankful for. Now, out of the blue, I get a phone call from Joseph and he's opened up a studio across the street from my facial place. So I was like, hey, on your lunch break, come over and record some songs. So, I mean, I get excited about, like, I mean, it sounds a little airy fairy, but for me, that's how my life is. My life is about,
but maybe it's that hard. You're acting it. It's not because it's airy fairy. It's actually because what you put out is what you get back. It could be karmic.
Could be karmic, or it could just be like, it could be karmic, or it could be just kind of trusting and getting in your lane and being okay with not trying to make or mandate the process. I'm just being super open to it. And in terms of the products and stuff, just, I mean, look, the whole product thing, I mean, for years, I've been making scrubs and sprays inspired by my grandmother. I mean, whatever my grandmother grew in her garden, she would either bottle it or she would put it in a pan and we'd eat it. And she was either misting our faces, with dandelion water or rose water or, geranium, whatever it is, or she was making a rosebud paste or whatever it was that she was doing. I'm like, wow, all of that I love. So I've been doing that for years and just giving my clients, for just because I didn't want to be bothered with it, like telling them how to make, the scrubs and telling them to go home. And they're like, look at my skin, looks so great. I'm like, what are you using? They're like, oh, I've been making that dumb little scrub you told me about. Exactly. So now I'm at the next incarnation of my life and what I'm doing and bringing in all this wonderful upbringing, good, bad, or indifferent, all my experiences.
It's actually wisdom.
I don't know if it is. I mean, maybe it is. Thanks for saying that, but you know what?
Think of yourself that way, but I see it as wisdom. I mean, we both work in clean beauty, but I feel like you really are like a formulator. Like you really
I am a formulator.
And because you have the power of touch and the experience of touching others, you know exactly the direct impact. Doesn't mean that everybody has the same skin, but it does mean that like you understand what it feels like to touch them with the product.
Well, you know what happens? Anything that you do a lot or too much, you become an expert at. And I know, I mean, when I'm working on people, right, exactly. I can either taste what's going on with them or smell what's going on with them or feel what's going on with them. So it's like my hands have become these wonderful tools of knowing what's great for the skin. And we're
beyond your hands. I'm actually going to say it's the total embodiment. It's the whole self.
Yeah. Yes. It's the whole self.
Not just your hands. Your hands do the energy work, but your intuition actually does a lot more than you're giving it credit.
That's probably true. But I think that, like I said, I mean, when you're doing something a lot, like you become an expert in it. I mean, I'm the closest person to the face. I touch people repeatedly. I see clients over and over again. I have 2 hours of touch time on them. So I am really getting to feel like what really works. And clean beauty, obviously, I'm passionate about it. You're passionate about it. Most people are passionate about it. There's so many other ways to muck up your life. We might as well just do clean in this area. And also it's like you start to understand what people need and what they want. So then it gravitates back to, what do I love? I love lemons. I love honey. And I love sugar, and I love sage, and I love working with plant matter, and I love creating things, and it just happens to be working for me right now.
So tell me, you actually have had, I mean, just so the audience knows, I mean, you've had award-winning products already.
Yeah, we've had award-winning products.
Yeah.
I do 2 products for the Ranch Malibu. I do one called Bees Milk, which is their sugar lemon honey scrub. It has chamomile oil in it, and a little bit of a fresh lemon enzyme, honey that is harvested on their property. Sue's a beekeeper. They get incredible California honey. It's such an amazing product to work with. It's super sticky and a pain in the butt, but it's so beneficial for anti-aging, antibacterial. I mean, it's pretty incredible working with those products. And then there's sugar beets in that, the scrub, and then we have the sun-soaked sage, which is a 10-day distillation product, a process. And it's all natural sage spray, which has great anti-aging, antibacterial, incredible hydrating properties. But
it helps ward off the negativity.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with just spraying everything around. When we were doing those products, we're like, hey, what's inspiring us here? I mean, that facility is incredible. What they've done, up in Malibu. I mean, those hikes and the view and just the energy and the whole idea of getting out of the city and paying attention to your body and slowing down. And, the sage was definitely an inspiration on that. And my grandmother, showed me how to do all those things. So I was like, hey, this feels like home. I'll just do this. But the Bees Milk did get top 10 2020 USA's best products of 2020. So it came in at number 7. So, I mean, I think that when, Sue and I were both like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, usually you pay for things like that. And it was a really pleasant surprise. So I feel like that's just God saying to me, hey, you're on track, and you just keep going. You just stay in your lane and you keep going and keep
so many incredible products right now. And
yeah.
My question for you is, like, also you're known for the signature facial. So you do dermaplaning.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know what dermaplaning is. Can you explain to them why your facial is so much more impactful than other facials that are out there?
Okay. Well, I love exfoliation, and I believe that there are different types of exfoliation, and there's a little bit of a lack of education. There's exfoliation by means of scrubbing, by means of rubbing, by means of melting or burning, which would be maybe a peel or a laser, or dissolving of skin. And I feel that when you're doing certain types of exfoliation, one of the most beneficial forms of exfoliation that I learned when I was in Japan is that scraping is a really incredible exfoliation and also strengthening of the tissue of the skin. So when I was designing my treatments, I was really bored with just regular facials. And I mean, I love to clean, and I get into the ears, and I do like the whole thing. I'm into it. But I thought, if I'm going to go get a treatment, I want everything in a treatment I want to give my clients everything that I want. Cause I, to be honest, was very disappointed in a lot of treatments. Like you go and you get like this barely touching the skin. And now we're going to blow some air on you and you're going to use this. And then I'm going to leave you under lights for like a half hour and see you later. And that's $700.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, not only are people getting ripped off, but nothing's really happening. So the whole idea behind the signature sweep was, I was challenged. I have a client who has incredible skin, was an older woman, and she was one of my first clients. And when I started my business, I needed to make money. And she was like, I will book for you. My husband and I will book every month for the next 2 years. We'll put it in the book. You come to my private spot, my house, if you dermaplane my skin. And she was the first person who really challenged me to put something together. She's like, design a treatment. So I did this whole treatment of 3 steps of exfoliation. And it starts with the dermaplaning, which is done with a scalpel. And it's just a very like nice little sweeping over the skin. It removes all of the unwanted growths, dead skin cells, all the unevenness. It takes the vellus hairs off, which we all have. It's a protective coating. And then I go to the next step, which is the scrubbing with the scrub. And then I do a peel, either enzymatic or we go a little bit stronger depending on the client and how much I've touched them. And then we go into like steam and popping of all the like zits and cleaning the ears really well. Do the massage, infuse all the little treatments, the serums.
I want it so badly right now.
No, it's a really, really great thing. But
No,
dermaplaning, I mean, dermaplaning was designed in the 50s and it was used to treat acne scars. So people that had severe acne, you slowly would go over that dead tissue, which is basically scarring, and try to wake it up gently and effectively without causing damage to encourage the skin cells to turn over. So I fell in love with it. And I think it's one, I mean, everyone that I know that has gorgeous skin does it. And it increases the turnover of the skin. It gets your body to step up and work for itself and repair. It also helps with the absorption of other products because all of us are just, our skin is designed, it's an armor. It's designed to protect our blood. It's designed to protect us from getting blood infections. So to stimulate that armor monthly is a really important thing to do. And if you don't do dermaplaning, I mean, you know how I feel. You have at home, care is really important. So exfoliating at home is just as important. But yeah, that's my deal. And I love it. I wish more estheticians would actually do it. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of patience involved. So
well, it also requires that you get like signature or buy off from a plastic surgeon, right? Or something, or you have to have like doctor.
Well, there's some to be honest with you, Michelle, and I do want to be really honest with you. If you have an aesthetics license, your aesthetics license doesn't cover you for this. I mean, I have a perimedical license, so I can use sharp instruments. I have a medical director, Dr. Buruz Torkian at the Lasky clinic. Dr. Torkian and I have worked together for over 15 years. I mean, I'm under his jurisdiction. Exactly. I also have my own insurance for dermaplaning. And the truth of the matter is the FDA approves it and regulates it. The medical board does not regulate dermaplaning. So the reality is, as we know how agencies can go, they can say, no, you can't do that. And you can be fined. But then somebody else can say, well, do whatever you want to do. Cause we don't they're over the counter tools nonetheless. You just have to be skilled. And I was raised on an island, so I can whittle.
So I know that our time is limited, so I do want to actually be respectful of our time. I do want you to just answer this question for our audience, because there's so many women out there, especially right now during the pandemic. 1 in 4 women are leaving the workforce. What would you say to a woman that's looking to launch or looking for her second act or looking to, to basically transform, but is scared?
The first thing I would say, and this is going to sound nutty. Yeah. I would say, take some time every day until you get the answer And it doesn't mean that you have to sit under an oak tree in lotus position. It doesn't mean that you have to be on your knees praying. It doesn't, whatever it is, it doesn't mean you have to go for a long walk on the beach. I mean, just get in the car if you want and sit in a parking lot.
Yeah.
But sit with your favorite cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is, and just go, show me who I am and what I'm supposed to do. Show me who I am and what I'm supposed to do, and give me the strength and the confidence to make it happen. And then release yourself from it and be open to getting the answer.
And listen.
And listen, be open to getting the answer and listen. I ask that every day. I do these Mulholland prayers when I'm driving over from my house to work. I say, Heavenly Creator, show me who I am and what I'm supposed to do. And let me be open enough so I can listen, so I can see what it is. Sometimes we do things in life that aren't necessarily what we want to do, like modeling.
Yeah.
It's not my deal. But
Yeah.
you know what? Sometimes we do those things because they give us so much information that we actually use those tools as we're in what we're supposed to be doing. We pull from that catalog of tools, and people just want, like, we're in a time in our lives, Michelle, where people just, I want, like kicking, screaming kids. Like, just stop for a second. Who am I? Yeah, who am I? Show me where I'm supposed to go, and let me be open to getting there.
Beautiful, and it really gave me chills. And I love hearing you tap into your spirituality. It's just at every step and point in who you are, and it's beautiful.
I appreciate you saying that, but Michelle, I'm right. You know, I'm right.
I know
Like,
you.
we think it's going to be some big thing that's going to happen, and we got to just churn it out and grind it out, and it's got to hurt and it's got to be painful. What about just going, show me who I am and what to do? Show me who I am.
There's a time to hustle, and there's a time to flow, and there's a time to grow, and
Yeah.
be, and I think you're absolutely right, and I do think that the answers come in our quietest moments,
And we should ask for them.
and
We
one
should ask for them.
one should ask for help. I think what
100%.
we don't do anything alone. Like,
Never.
there's always some sort of support system holding that space for us, whether it be God, whether it be Allah, whether it be Buddha, whether it be whoever it is that you're seeking, but nothing is done alone.
No, Michelle, I have built this business on one face at a time. And that person goes out and they tell two people, and it just grows. It's like this beautiful, plentiful tree of just word of mouth. Exactly. What's wrong with that? So
speaking of which, Miss Heather Bradley from Bradley Beauty, our time is coming to an end, and I've had so much fun really just hearing more about your story. I feel even more inspired than I already was by you.
Well, can I tell you something? I enjoy you, and you know that. And I told you this before, and I want to say this before we end. You love women. And that's what I love about you, is you recognize what women especially are going through. And, you know, we're in a city where a lot of women hate women, and you love women. And I love that about you, because you help women be okay with loving one another and finding 100%.
It's about meeting each other where you're at, because
100%. And I love that about you, because we need more of that.
Thank you so much. I love you so much.
All right, Mommy, I love you too. Thank you.
Real quick, where can people find your products, and where can people perhaps book a facial if they can so get into you? So, but importantly, your products too.
Well, people can go to bradleybeauty.com, and they can call us directly. They can book facials. They can, we're a little booked out, but we will get people in, and we do have cancellations and reschedules. So we're really good about, Hannah is excellent about getting people on the book. Products.
Hannah's right hand.
Hannah's my right hand. And we also use
Bradley Beauty. What's your handle for Instagram? At Bradley Beauty?
What is it, Hannah? Bradley.beauty. Bradley.beauty. Okay. And then also you can buy products at the Ranch Malibu. You can get the bees milk and the sun soaked sage, or you can also buy products from us. We have a lot of really great things coming out too in spring, so I'm excited.
Let's discuss the candles. They're amazing.
The candles are amazing.
It smells so good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I love you so very much.
I love you too.
So appreciative.
All right. Have a good day.